Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Justin Carter. I'm a project associate with the Center for Rural Affairs, and I'd like to welcome you to another session in our series, Models of Native Cooperative Ownership. Today, we're really blessed to have with us RJ from Arctic Co-operatives. He's going to tell us a little bit about Arctic and their work with Indigenous artists. And we're also, as always, privileged to have with us Pamela Standing from the Minnesota Indigenous Business Alliance. So welcome, Pamela. And I will go ahead and turn it over to you.
Well, we're really excited today to have RJ Ramrattan. Now, I hope I pronounced this Ramrattan.
Ramrattan.
Ramrattan. Oh, geez, I was practicing too. I apologize.
No worries.
He handles their main gallery in Toronto and has over 10,000 pieces, I believe, of Native Indigenous art that they have built up over the years. And because of COVID, it's really kind of closed a lot of how they do work, how they've done work traditionally with their communities. But he's also going to talk about the wholesale, which is the gallery that they have in Toronto, but also their retail and how they buy from their artists, how they work with their artists. It's really impressive. And so I'm just going to let you go ahead, RJ, and welcome you and everyone else for joining us today, and get ready for a beautiful presentation.
Thanks, Pamela. Thanks, Justin. We in Toronto here is called Canadian Arctic Producers, and Canadian Arctic Producer, we use a short form called CAP, C-A-P. CAP has been around since 1965, promoting Inuit arts and craft. Since 1965, this marketing arm was created to help source out the Inuit art from the isolation in isolated communities right across Canada's Arctic. And because of the hardship from bringing art from the north to the south has been difficulty back in the 60s. Artists would have to wait, 5-6 months before they get paid. But since then, the co-op has formed and become a cooperative movement, which is owned and controlled by the Inuit people living in these communities. Arctic Co-op has been hired, as Dwayne did a presentation with you guys last week on Arctic Co-op, was hired to create that marketing arm to help members art, which is the Arctic Canadian Arctic Producers. I've been working with the Canadian Arctic Producers since 1989. It will be my 32 years here. And working with Inuit artists directly in the communities has been, difficult, expensive, but at the same time, it's been an opportunity for me to learn more about the artists, more about the culture, more about the community, and so on. Right now, we are in 32 communities right across Nunavut, Northwest Territories, and the Yukon. Each community owns their own operation and run by the board of directors and the people. Each one of them have their own voice. The community does not have voice for the other communities. They all have their own voice, which is a great thing to have. CAP has been working with the individuals over 55 years now, buying the art, and not only buying. When the art comes to Arctic Co-op, we have to find ways to move it. And there's so many different ways we've been moving Inuit art. However, time has changed. Today, artists are trying to sell by themselves too, through the network, the internet, and so on. But all of that had draw a bit difficulties for them too, because they have to have their own operation, building, way of packing, and all these different things which they don't have. But luckily, all artists have their own say whether they want to bring the art to the system or they want to market it directly. The co-op is there for them. An artist create a piece, they bring it to the co-op buys it through CAP, which is us. We give the support and guidance via internet. When we see the piece, we help the manager of the co-op decide, and of course the artist, and we decide what to pay for that piece of art. The art then purchased by the co-op packed it, ship it to the south, where the art arrived at CAP in Toronto here. And when the art arrive here, we process it, we pay back the co-op, and the artists get, before I go that further, the artists get first pay right at the co-op. And when the art comes to the south, we then pay the co-op. Not only what we pay the artist, plus we give the co-op 25% admin free, so they can have that money to continue that operation in supporting the art sector in that store. So our duty, our mandate is to partnership with all stakeholders involved in the Inuit art industry. We partner with the artists. That is the biggest partnership we have. Because without the artist partnership, we can't support the industry. So there's many ways we do, we create this partnership. One, I travel a lot to the communities. I meet up with the artists. I have, town hall meetings and share information, what's going on in the South, what kind of art are selling, what expectation, what can we expect from an artist, what the galleries are expecting from coming out from that communities and so on. So we share information like that. And then the artists also share information with me, said, okay, how do you sell our art, and where does our art goes, and all these things. So all of that information share at these town hall meetings. So building a relationship with artists is number one, because without having a relationship and loyalty, the co-op system will not grow and will not be around as it was today, as 55 years now. We give guidance as much as possible through email, whether a phone call or whether I visit there. We support established artists, or more so, we support the young generation today. The emerging and upcoming artists need that guidance more today than the elders when they were doing it 20, 30 years ago. Because the whole marketing system changed over the years. So guidance is very important to give to these young generation, because without them, the culture will disappear. Many artists today will bring pieces of artwork, the young generation, but sometimes the artwork is not fit the market. The quality of the art is not there, or the medium they use is not right, because, for example, the medium is whalebone ivory. It's hard to market outside of Canada, except for a few countries in Europe. So we will give them a guidance and say, okay, your art is beautiful in whalebone. However, we decide that we would like you to work on stone, where we can market right in Canada. That said, 80% of our market is in Canada. So we have to make sure we want to grow that. We want to grow our market in outside of Canada. And for us to grow, we want to make sure to use the correct medium also. So those are kind of support and guidance we give. And also, if a young artist bring a piece, a bear, and it looks like a dog, we don't say no. We don't turn him away. We will buy the piece. We will give guidance. We will give support and work with him until he gets to become that artist. We would tell him where the work needs to be done. Why the piece, we're not buying the piece today, but we'll buy it in the next week after you redo it. We want to show that kind of support, and we encourage other communities to do the same, as the young generation are the future of that community. So we want to make sure that we don't turn these young generation away from this whole, from the program. So that said, we also like to build portfolios with these artists. How we do that? We partnership with the galleries in the South. when we buy art from all 30 plus communities and all the artwork is in our showroom here today, we have over 10,000 pieces of sculptures. We have over 10,000 prints, like work on paper, then stuff like wall hanging here. We have hundreds of those. And then we have basket out of grass. So now what we do, we partnership with galleries, not only in Canada, but in the US and in Europe. Create exhibition, create shows, whether it's one artist, whether it's several artists, whether it's female artists only, whether it's a community only, and so on. We partnership with them. We'll tell the artists, okay, this gallery in Toronto, love your artwork, and they want to do a show next February. However, we want enough pieces to fit in that exhibition. So we give the artists like 6 months to a year to build, to create that art, and the galleries will actually buy these pieces, and they will not sell it. They will keep it for that purpose only, for that exhibition only. And what we'll do also, we will invite the artists sometimes to attend the exhibition. Then they will see all the artwork under one roof. And you'll be amazed how some of these artists are almost in tears when they see all the artwork on pedestals and all of these pieces they did over the last year under one roof. And it really light up their eyes and their heart. And when they go back, they become more, they want to create more, they want to do more, because they appreciate how we take care of the art, how the art has been displayed, how the art has been marketed to the audience. And all of that is part of showing the artists that we have a very, we are passionate, not only for in a business aspect, but for the art. And they also meet collectors who are buying the art on site. Then they will take pictures and so on. So all of that helps create that art, create that market, and put a dent into that market, which helps move the Inuit art. And then at the same time, we invite the press, like the Globe and Mail or Toronto Star, or the National Post. They will come and they will do a write-up. Okay, this gallery does this, so on, with partnership with Canadian Arctic Producer and Arctic Co-op, and so on. And you know what? People will call. They'll call the gallery and they want pieces by this artist who just did an exhibition show. And then you share that back with the artist, so it helps create that portfolio. So all of that, exhibition events, all of that help build that artist portfolio. Because artists do so many work over the years, like 30, 40 years, but they don't keep written documents. It's not their style, it's not their way. We are the one responsible for that. So we build that up. We'll create a bio, we'll create the portfolio, we'll have where the artist is, which collection the artist, which gallery did an exhibition, and so on. So all of that helped build that artist portfolio, whether from an artist who started today or established artist who's 30 years ago, start a portfolio now, and it would help that artist and the business also. Anybody have any questions so far? And go ahead.
Well, I just have a quick question. When you make this investment, how much where's the funding coming from for you guys to keep building these portfolios? Because that's expensive.
It is. Our inventory is quite high here right now. Like I said earlier before, each co-op is responsible for their own operation. A co-op is a big grocery store. They run a hotel, they run a restaurant, they run a gas bar, they run tourism, construction, whatever. So all these money is part of the co-op. And part of the co-op is to support the communities, their resources, that community. And if 80% of that population are artists, guess what? The co-op will support that arts society and that arts program. So the money they get from not only from what return back to them when we buy art, but also money coming from other business entities, make that co-op affordable to buy the art and to pay the artist right away. And when the art shipped to us, we then reverse that payment back to the co-op through the system. Plus, we give them that 20-25% margin to support the purchasing and the packing and what's not. So that money comes from the member. That's the member's money is actually buying it.
Okay.
Back in the days when we first started, back in the 60s, 70s, that's when we went for a grant through the federal government, and they gave us a grant to start that first co-op. And after few years, the co-op become an established and profitable. They pay off the grant and said, the government, we no longer need your assistance. We are going to work on our own now. And that's what happened today. So it's a self-sustained business we have through the cooperative system. It's all about good management and good, the system created to make sure it is a self-sustained business. And at the same time, to all the different business entities from other areas, the money go, if that co-op is profitable from other business entities, dividends goes back to the member. Mm-hmm. In that community too. How much, if you are a member, you buy $20,000 of grocery throughout the year, you got $20,000 invested in that co-op, and money comes back to your pocket end of the year. So it's again self-sustained, and that's what we want. We want the Inuit people to take control of their own business entity, and we're just hired to create the admin and do the marketing and everything else. Another way of help create market for your member artists too is work closely with a big institution in your community or outside your community if you have to. We have partnership with, for example, I'm in Toronto, but I partnership with Winnipeg Art Gallery in Manitoba. That's a different province. In your country, it will be a different state. Mm-hmm. What we do, we bring artists to the Winnipeg Art Center, which did actually go back. The Winnipeg Art Gallery just built a $70 million center dedicated to Inuit art alone. They have one of the largest collection under one roof, over 15,000 pieces of art. And that center is built so they can showcase it all at once. And that just finished built like a year ago. And I was supposed to go for the opening because of COVID, I couldn't go. So having that alone, so we got so much projects we're gonna work with this institution years to come. We start a program, a residency program a few years ago with them. We invited artists to come for a couple of weeks where they will create their artwork in front of the audience while people come to visit. They see the art being made, seeing that made, live, it changed your whole aspect, how you want to buy a piece of art now. Mm-hmm. That artist would make a polar bear. Everybody that wants to buy that one piece. So we bring different artists too. One would be a sculptor, an artist who was carve stone, and then we'll do a printmaker, art on paper. So that way you have the diversity, so people can see other aspect of artists doing other things other than sculptor. Again, building that kind of relationship with institution helps promote art international level. Open that audience that, because the client base the institution have is all over the world, not just in Winnipeg. And when that institution showcase that artist from your community, that's how it built their reputation and brings them to the next level. And that's how they get more money for the art also, because their work is in demand and so on. And also we work with National Gallery of Canada, which is under the crown of Canadian government. We want to make sure that art coming up from the north also get into the collection of the hands of the National Gallery. We will advise them what's coming out. We will say, okay, these pieces of art should be part of your collection, so the government can, invest money into the arts and culture of this country also. So we want to make sure, like Smithsonian, we did some project with Smithsonian over the years. Smithsonian was the first to host an Inuit art, a solo exhibition of an Inuit artist about 4 or 5 years ago. And it was a big hit. Many people see some massive piece of work size of my desk, a value over, $500,000. And the artist was there on site and talk about the piece and talk about his legacy and talk about how 40 years he's been making carvings and so on. So all of that helps the artist to grow also. So all of that, building relationship is a priority for us with all stakeholders. And that's how we've been successful. We want to make sure, whether you have a small gift shop or a major institution or small gallery, each business entity, they have their own audience, what they can afford or what they can sell. They have their own collectors, so we try to get as much artwork in all these different entities, and that help our mandate, which to promote, protect, and preserve the Inuit art and culture of our members. So recently, I had mentioned to you, we did a beautiful commission piece with the government of Canada. Like, the Capitol Hill is your big government, that's the central, and the White House. Our legislature is in Ottawa. The government of Canada commissioned an Inuit artist to do a piece to be installed in the House of Commons. That's where all the senators meet. And that piece was done by the artist. And right away, the government gave him $55,000, write him a check. It took him about a year to get the piece done. The building is still under renovation, but when they're ready to install it, they will invite the artist and myself back to see where the piece will be going. We were there a few years ago, the unveiling of the piece. So we built relationship at the government level. We talked to the government of create a stamp, and also some two of our artists also art pieces was printed on the $20 bill of Canada also over the years, and $2 bills and $10 bills. So we promote our art with the government in various ways, but at the same time we get exposure, and that's again is helpful for our member artists. We want to think outside of the box as much as possible, and not just on not just on tourism. Tourism is yes, but when you go a different level and get the art and the outside there are broader, you open that market, and it's better for yourself and for the artists and the co-op system. Another one we just was Canada Goose Parker, very high-end Parker worldwide. We partnered them with some of the artists, the ladies who are sewing and making Parkers. They were invited by the Canada Goose to design a number of Parkers. And 2 years ago, the collection was launched and people love it. So that's, again, another level of you partner with high-end corporation with our art and member artists also. So all in all, it's way how we be successful. It's all about working together, working with the artists, working with the galleries, working with institutions, working with the corporate clients, and maintain that one goal is to promote the art as much as possible and try to preserve that unique culture and that unique art in your community. And that's what we've been doing for 55 years. And we will continue to do this through, for years to come, regardless of the COVID hit us hard in the last 20 months. We never stop buy art. We continue to buy art more because we want to make sure we support our art. They were there for us when we were promoting them. They were there for us when the sales revenue was high. So we want to make sure we don't cut cut off the artists just because we are suffer in the South. You know, our sales dropped 50% in the last 2 years compared to 2019. It dropped last year and this year, but that doesn't say, you know what, let's stop. No, my art inventory went up to 15,000 pieces now, not 10,000 no more. But that's okay, because we know we can move this. We know there's a time will come and will change. So we want to make sure that the artists are being taken care of, because 80% of the people living across Canada are artists, and that is the main source of income. We want to make sure they get food on the table. So that's part of who the system, and that's part of the co-op system. We believe in the people, and that's what we decide to continue that buying power. Any question, please? The other thing we're doing today is advertising in various ways. We know the internet has been there, and one magazine that dedicated to Inuit art is called Inuit Art Quarterly. Of course, it comes out 4 times a year. It's a foundation run under the government. The government provide funding to run this agency. They are the policing of the Inuit art, make sure that galleries are marketed art properly, the authenticity of the art, because in the past, we have people will make art and had other names on it. They put artist name because the art is famous. So we do have people policing that. Each piece carry a certificate, which is called the igloo tag. The igloo tag represents that this piece was bought through the system and it was and it's an authenticity piece of art. And that will have a number, the inventory number, the artist name, the community, the date was made, and so on. And that will be in the database of our system. So we know 50 years later, you call us, you say, what if you have that certificate, we can verify that piece was made and how it was bought, who bought it, and when it was bought, and when the artist got paid, and everything. So we create that database so people we have that reliable source to help people make sure that art is authenticated through the system. There are many pieces art go through out of the system. Artists will sell directly, but we have no control of those ones. We only can control what we have in our system. So this Inuit Art magazine, if there's an exhibition going on in Vancouver or in Washington or in Paris, they get involved, and then they will write up articles. Okay, an artist having a solo exhibition in Paris, boom, 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 put it in a paper and print it in a magazine. So the collectors get these magazines. So they know what's coming out from the north and where it's going, what exhibition going on. So they're on top of things. Not only artists who are sculptors or artists who are on paper, but singers and dancers and all these various artists from Canada's north is been promoted to the magazine too. So we all know what's going on in the whole arts program in the Inuit communities and so on. And that helped a lot because a lot of people rely on this magazine. It's been around for almost 35 years now, promoting Inuit art. And a lot of galleries, retail outlets, they're advertising these magazines too. And that brings collectors to the doorstep of these galleries. So they help move the art also. And then they will do spotlight. You'll say, RJ, what's going on in this community? And then I will share information. Whenever I travel in the Arctic, I'll take pictures or video, and then I will share with them. And they will do a write-up in the magazine, plus they have a website, and they will put the video on. This is where RJ was in summer of 2021 in the cabin of this artist for 3 days, and all of that helped promote and encourage buyers to buy and support the Inuit art industry also.
I have a quick question, RJ. So when people sell their art to the cooperative, do they also get a dividend for the sales of their art at the end of the year, just like if they purchase from the co-op during the year?
It's bundled
Okay,
the same way as how the co-op store, the grocery store, the art sales, the gas station, all of that, all the revenue bundles
okay,
create that revenue back to the individual, to that community.
okay. And then your certificate that you have, that's a record, is that more of a record internally for all of the art that you have, excuse me, in your facility in Toronto?
Correct. Because
Okay.
the galleries and the gift shops, galleries, institution, when they buy the piece, they get the certificate too. But the consumer, when they get it, they get the piece too, you know? They get the certificate. But there are times they lose the certificate, but under the art, we have a small sticker with the certificate number.
Okay.
And they lose the certificate and they give us that number and say, oh yeah, we bought that piece in 1983 and so on. And we print it and we get another certificate created and we mail it to them.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a way of showing that, you know, how much pieces of art we bought through the years, you know, like right now in also since 1965, I'll say we bought over 350,000 pieces of sculpture. We moved over 350,000 pieces of sculpture going back since 1965. Our average, you know, there were times we were buying between 5,000 and 10,000 pieces a year. When it's at a high peak. But over years, the last 10 years, it's changed. Why it's changed? We lost many artists over the years, the elderly. And a lot of them is at age now, they don't carve no more. So the buying power in that community drops. So that's why we rely on the next generation and the upcoming. Like there's one community, I will buy like $300,000-400,000 a year. And that's a lot of art.
Yeah.
One community. And when you have 30 community, adds it up, you got a big number there.
Yeah.
But now that community drops to about, you know, $40,000 a year. Why? The artists are no longer with us. They retire, and the young generation are the one who we rely on. And that's why we give that support and encourage them to continue to carve, continue to support the art program, continue to support your co-op. And that way, you know, we want to, our mandate is to help preserve that culture. And we want to make sure the young generation understand the importance of that. Not only for you to make it for you to have money, but also to be creative, to be sustainable, to make sure, you know, you do the art for the sake of a career path and not just as when you need that extra dollar or money, you know. So all of that, we encourage the young generation to make sure. And that's where the big challenge for me right now is to get art pieces, because in my 30 plus years now, I see the drop in buying because of that same situation. And then the other thing too, we see a lot of young generation, elder generation who still carve today. The grandchildren are trying to take picture now of the piece and try to sell it directly through the social media platform. I can't stop them. I don't encourage it, especially if you're an established artist.
Yeah.
I find it disrespectful because you, as an established artist, you have a piece made, and you know, in the gallery, your piece can sell for $40,000-50,000 for one piece, and then you have your granddaughter or taking a picture and try to sell it on Facebook. Collectors don't like that.
Yeah.
The buyers don't like that. They will send me. They will take pictures, because some of them are, they're all them on social media. They say, RJ, why is Paul Maliki Bear is on Facebook for this amount of money? And then I have to explain to them. But when I'm talking to Paul, this is an artist. When I talk to this, he's an established artist. His art pieces sell between 10 to 40, 50,000 for one piece. He come out right out. He doesn't like it either. Because sometimes they take advantage of the elders.
Yeah. Yeah.
We want to make sure when we speak to the elders that they understand how it hurts them. So we try to make sure if you're going to use a social platform media to advertise the art, make sure it's very respectable, genuine, and they pay fair and not, it's not a flea market.
Yeah.
These art are quite, handmade art should be very, marketed in a very respectful way. People should not take advantage and try to sell like through a car trunk or a flea market. No, that's disrespect to the artist and your community.
Yeah.
So those are little things I will advise the artists them to be aware of, because they don't get the buyers them. Yes, some of them will go and get, oh yeah, I get it, lower or whatever. It doesn't go through the process. So is it authentic to?
Yeah.
So all of that you have to look at. And there are times too, artists will try to sell directly to a gallery, and then, but they said they want the payment up front. And some galleries who just maybe don't know the system well enough will put $5,000 into the account. 3 years later, the art didn't show up yet. And then they call me and they say, I'm sorry, it's not my problem. I have 15,000 pieces here. You should have come here. Yeah. These are the things. Little things like that could hurt a lot. So we encourage everybody to work as a group, work as a co-op society, and that way it builds strength, and you get, it built, when you have loyalty, it built strength and a brighter future for a success co-op society.
Yeah.
The other way we help our market too is a lot of collectors or gallery owners or writers, they do a lot of book literature too. So we market these books also to encourage collectors to buy also. And we put into the galleries, whether it's on an artist or a community or just a writer decide to write on spiritual pieces or whatever, all of that helps. And the book is not about making profit, it's just about the way of showing how the art has been moved and so on. The other thing we're doing right now, we're going to be invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in our digital platform in coming years to be built in a way that it not only can be beneficial for the buyer, also for the artists. So artists can go back and see some of the pieces, look at some of the work they done 10 years, 15 years ago. And also there will be an area where the biography of an artist will be on the website, and they will have access to go in there also to have a biography printed, or we will upgrade the biography for them also. And that whole digital platform will share not only for the retail, the wholesalers, but also is there for the retail to share with their information there to share on the community and the artists, the buyer and all of that. So they get a full scope of what they invest money into a piece of art. They get the whole package. And it's going to cost us a lot of time and money and resources, but that is the future of our platform. We want to make sure there's storytelling on spiritual pieces, there's storytelling on the artist, when he started and why you choose this dimensional piece of art and why you choose this subject matter, or these kind of things. It helps. So the consumer and the buyer understand that artist, and they know, so they support, so they understand not only you get a polar bear, but there's a reason why the guy make that polar bear, so it helps sales and market that piece of art. So a platform will be very helpful to have, so artists can have access to it, and also artists can see past artwork done in the past too. Like I sometimes I have to do report for my board of directors. One community said, okay, this artist want to know how many pieces he done in the last 10 years. I punch in his name, I run a report, show, okay, he did so many thousand pieces, and here's the number. And he said, wow, you know, when you see that kind of report, it's encouraging, and they share that with their grand and their son and daughter too.
Do you ever get collectors that come back and they want to sell their collections or have them go back into the community? Like with the place, I remember you talked about that place a little over a year ago, the one in Winnipeg, the
Right.
Inuit Arts Center.
Yes.
Is that affiliated with Arctic Co-operatives, or is it its own?
It's its own entity, but
Okay.
But I'll tell you this much, Joe. It may be a private entity or a corporation of that province, but 80% or 90%, I should say, of the art in that collection, of that 15,000 pieces they have, came through our system.
Okay.
How did that end up there? The artists make the pieces, bring it to the co-op bring it to us at CAP, we market to the gallery sell to the collectors. The collectors now, over time and age, they donate these things, the art pieces, to institution. They get the name on a plaque and so on, which is great because they're supporting that entity. So that art moved through all these hands, and then it circle, and then it goes right to that center. There, I will go to the center and I see pieces there over 30 years ago, and I remember buying that piece from an artist. And now look where it ends up. So that's why pieces will end up there. But then there's some collectors who will put it onto the auction houses if they're in need for money, or they just decide to sell it off. And for that purpose, or there's another generation who took over the collection. Their parents maybe passed, and they don't know what to do with it. They put all the pieces into a collection, and then they an auction and sell it out. So that's what we call the secondary art market. We are not allowed to buy back.
Okay.
So you as a collector, you call me, RJ, I bought these pieces through the gallery, and the gallery bought it through CAP 30 years ago. And so I'm sorry, we support the existence primary market, which is the artists living in that community today. But I encourage them to go to galleries who are, you know, who have knowledgeable on Inuit art, and take it to them and assess it, and tell you the value, or take it to an auction house, get it reassessed, and then you have an idea what your collection worth before you try to sell it and so on.
Okay.
Because our main, the co-op system main mandate is to promote, protect, and preserve of our existing member artists right now, and that's what we're doing by support the primary market. Any questions? Please don't be shy.
I have one, RJ. With COVID and how restrictive Canada is, how has your organization been able to pivot? Because usually when you go to a gallery, you get to enjoy and appreciate the piece of that artist.
Exactly.
But
yes.
how have you been able to pivot with COVID and the restrictions? I mean, how are your collectors able to appreciate those pieces?
And that's a very good question, and it's challenging because the COVID restrict people to go into the galleries. Galleries and the institution are the first one to be on the list. Shut down right away. And of course, that damaged us. But you have established artists who have pieces in that gallery, and collectors know that artist, know what he's capable of, know what the quality of art is. And funny enough, we saw more established artists during COVID. Why? Because collectors and galleries already know what to expect. So the collectors will buy the pieces without even touching it or going to the gallery. Because the gallery owners would call me, said, RJ, do you have this polar bear by this artist? My client wants it. Boom, I ship it directly to her client. So the gallery doesn't have to touch it either. We just build a gallery. But there are corporations who just love the art. Doesn't matter who the artist is, whether it's upcoming young artists or established. They said they want a polar bear or a seal or walrus. They give you a budget, and then boom, we sell it direct to them, and they're happy. COVID has changed a lot how we market our art today, and that's the reason why we are paying more attention in the coming years to rebuild that digital platform to make it more easy and accessible to our buyers, so they can share information from that with with the consumers and the audience. The other thing to help also, Lucia, is when a collector buy a piece from a gallery not able to touch it, we share information on the artists, like the biography and everything, so they know they have an established piece. And then they have return policy in place. We do too also. So they feel comfortable. They buy a $5,000 piece, they feel comfortable that they can return it if they don't like it. And they have all that relationship built with that gallery owners too.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead. I had another question, but I'll just wait.
No, it's the relationship again. When the consumer build a relationship with a gallery, how the gallery treat that client, that customer, they come back. It's all about that service again, you know, and they come back regardless if they're not able to touch that piece before they buy it.
I really appreciate the fact that you mentioned early on in your presentation how, you know, the young artists that come in and they meant it to be a bear and it looks like a dog. I really appreciated the fact that your agency is able to buy that, because I think that if I was an artist and you did that for me, you would nurture that creativity, and that would be so encouraging for someone that's just starting off, especially a young artist.
Especially a young art, exactly. I was doing an interview with an artist 2 weeks ago, because we're celebrating our 50th year anniversary of Arctic Co-op. So I kind of asked them about Arctic Co-op. What's the first thing come to Arctic Co-op? Like, how does it benefit you and so on? I'm going back to this one artist I spoke to you guys about. His name is Paul Maliki. He's in almost 70 years old. Paul and his wife, I'm on the phone talking to them just before I went on holidays. And he said, RJ, having the co-op there is like his way that he can like almost sleep at night, knowingly he can bring his artwork there, get paid for it, and not to worry when the next meal will be on the table. I asked him, when was his first time he brought a piece to the co-op? Arctic Co-op been around since 1965. He brought his first piece in 1967, and it was a whale, he said. A small, tiny whale, probably like a half of a pen. 1967. And he said this piece, when he brought a piece, he was 9 years old. He started 9 years old when he started to carve. And when he brought a piece to the co-op, he get $1. And then he bought this big fat gum candy. And he said, you know those big fat jock, we call it? And he said he remembered that candy. He was so happy he get money for his piece of artwork. So that tells a lot. And that artist today is the same artist, his pieces today worth $40,000, $50,000 for one piece. So if you never support that kid back then, we will not have that master today. And that's why he said the co-op has always been there for him, and for his family and for the community. Having a co-op in that community, the future is bright for them. And he's very appreciative, and he's very thankful that that co-op is there. Those are the exact words I have to quote, because I'm doing an article with him in Confidential in the IQ magazine. I was up in another community in Nunavut a few years back before COVID. Kid was 7 years old, 7 or 8. They have a long lineup of artists line up to come to the store to bring their artwork. So I'm there assessing it with the artists, meeting with them one after another, and then cut them a check as they get. I cut a check and then they go. A 7-year-old kid came, 7. Cold as ever, and you walk in there, shy as ever, a little boy. And he brought a piece, he wants me to see it, because he wants me to buy this piece of carving. He came and I sat there, I go around the desk and I sat with him and I talked to him, said, this is a very, very beautiful piece of work. If this is what you want to do in life, continue. However, I want you to stay in school too. But I will support your artwork. Promise me that. Because they're supposed to be in school at the same time too, right? Because he came during business hours. I gave him some money and I bought that piece. And he was the happiest guy ever. And that's what you do. You encourage these young kids. I enjoy going to this community when I buy art, not only to buy art, I spend time with them. I go to school, I watch them play games and everything, go and talk to the principal and say who I am and so on. I would spend time with the elders, in the wintertime, they build an igloo outside the community, that's their pastime. They will go and hang out. I will go in the igloo with them and I will have tea. They'll do drum dancings and what's not, and I will enjoy that company. They will talk the story in their own languages. And the smile tells a lot. I don't need them to translate. I know, you can feel that. And when I go there also, the carvers then will take me hunting or fishing. I'm not allowed to hunt, but I go as a day trip just to learn more about the culture and who they are as a person, not just someone coming here and bring a piece of art. So that's the relationship I like to build with our artists. So they're not called artists, they're all my friends. And that's how we, bring people together, loyalty, and it really helps each other. We rely on each other. If we want to see growth, if we want to see success, we have to work together. And that's what this whole conversation is about. It's about partnership with your stakeholders. And stakeholders is from the artist to the consumer, to the gallery, institution, corporation, or else the business will not be successful. Any more questions there?
We're so appreciative of your time and taking the time to represent with us. And, we'll have a document now. And your story is so beautiful. Oh, someone has their hand up. Go ahead. Is that you, Danica?
Yeah, it's me. Sorry, I couldn't get to my buttons in time. First of all, thank you so much for being here. This is awesome. I've been thinking a lot about just here in this area, like what it looks like for Native artistry to take off, right? But then, I love what you're talking about here, like this ownership piece, like not just it's taking the conversation beyond making more money for X amount of thing. You know, it's really about ownership, right? And it's about that level of control, and getting out of these exploitative models. And then, you know, that incorporating that piece of like healing from one generation to the next, where the next generation is not exploiting, you know, what has happened from the previous generations, really just kind of learning what colonizers have taught us about, you know, exploitation and things like that. But having that appreciation and carrying on those legacies, especially within families where there's a particular trade or there's a particular craft that has been very, very long standing. I was wondering if you could just make a little bit more comment for me, if you could please, about the distinctions between, you know, what you do through your connections, like as a co-op, networking with the art galleries and having the artisans and the artwork, and the capital moving in that space. I don't want to say versus like the social media space, because that's really what I see here in this area. That's the most immediately accessible. That's the most easily accessible. And for a lot of people, they might be very, very strong in their craft, strong in their trade. They might even have a whole network of individuals around them who support them in creating their crafts or buy from them directly, but they don't necessarily have the capacity to make their own website and it takes a different level of skill. You know, they might be an expert quill worker or an expert basket weaver, but you know, they would be working on like an old desktop computer from like the 90s, and they're perfectly fine with that, right? So, you know, that intersection between being highly skilled, right, being highly talented, being highly impressionable and likable, and people want to buy their things, but really the only thing that they can readily access without having to, you know, pay for services or pay for like a third party to help them. So developing that, like that technology capacity, to get into those markets and to market out of the region, market out of the area, which is where I'm sort of seeing this trend, whether we're talking in Canada or the US. A lot of Native artisans really need to get out of their local geography in order to really get paid what they invest into their work. And that's for a myriad of reasons. So could you talk a little bit more about this sort of, I guess we could say, like tension or juxtaposition between like social media selling, versus, you know, what is happening through a co-op space in collaboration with institutions and galleries and things like that?
Well, in earlier, I told you about the social media, how social media can be benefit for so many reasons. You know, time has changed and the market has changed drastically. We as a system together, working together with the individual artists in that community, we are working as a family, and meaning that the co-op blanket, the principle of the co-op involved, meaning that money and sales come through the system goes back to the artist. That's one way of the artist getting money into the pocket. Second, when we buy directly from the artist, we pay them upfront. And thirdly, if the art worth more money at the South, for example, we will say, okay, this piece worth a bit more because the picture didn't do much justice. And there are times we will connect back with the artist and said, okay, here's $300 more on that piece, or here's $400, whatever the case is. But when it comes to sell the piece through the social media, it could hurt them, and also it could be beneficial for the artist also. We have many complaints about the social media, especially when an artist trying to sell their artwork, knowingly he's a status, and collectors will spend tens of thousands of dollars on a piece of art through a gallery, established gallery over the 30, 40 years, and now they see the piece on a social media platform. They get very upset and angry because they said that now devalued their artwork and that artist. But the way, from my understanding, your question is, if there's a way for artists to sell their work directly on a digital platform that is established and respectable for the art and the society and the community, I will encourage that. I will say, the government of Canada support Aboriginal business and Indigenous business in this country. And Indigenous artists can apply for funding to create website, whether through a community artist society or whether through a group in a region, or whether through themselves. But that is something that artists need to do. They have to want to do that. I'm not going to tell the artists to do it. It's up to them if they want to do that. And then you have the other area now. The co-op is there for them right now. The artists can bring the artwork there, 5 days a week, and have that source where they can sell the art without going to set up a buying system or a packing system or insurance, freighting, all these stuff that are involved to run a small business. They have to have that space, and that also has to be, costly to operate. There are established artists who refuse to go to the social media and continue to work with the co-op because of the system always been there for them. And it's always there for the last 50 years, generations, their parents and so on. And they know end of the year, they will get dividends back, not only through the art, but also through the other business entity I spoke of, the grocery store, the convenience store, the gas station, the hotels, and all of that. I work for a co-op system. And believe me, I've been with 33 years, is going to be come in 2023. And I believe in the system, and it's been working for the artists. And I see great benefits. If that system was not working, I wouldn't be here today. It helped the artists to build portfolios. It helped the artists to build that collection. If we work with one area, if you have an artist doing 20 pieces and he went to 20 different social media platforms, and we haven't seen any, the institution in Canada, any major institution haven't seen any, the galleries haven't seen any, guess what? This artist's portfolio disappeared. How do we build a portfolio for that artist now, when all his artwork went to 20 different areas into our home, which that art will never be seen again? We have to see art coming out from artists so we can help them be master artists and help them get the money for the piece, that the actual piece work. If an artist continue to do the social media platform and he's new and he come to me, say, RJ, here's my polar bear. I'm sorry, I don't know who you are, but I will buy the piece. But he said, well, our last piece I sold for $6,000. But I said, okay, I'm going to give you $2,000 because I only know of you now. But I did 40 pieces already and I sold for this much. Again, I don't know who you sell it to. I don't, because I now have to find that audience now to help market this piece. Especially if I'm going to the gallery and you never heard of you. Believe me, they don't want to spend big money. They want big, they want to have an established. So we will work with them. And for us to pay a high price, we have to build gradually. So we know what we know what the artwork. It's fair for the artist to say, yes, they want $6,000 piece, but it's not fair for us to sell it, to buy it when we don't know what's coming out. So that's how we build exhibition. We get the artists to build a number of pieces so we can market it as a whole in a portfolio. And guess what? His price goes up and he makes more money too. And that's what we try to encourage. We want to protect them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that's definitely a different model than kind of the freelance, everybody gets your beadwork on Facebook or on Pinterest or on Instagram. And then it's just kind of like a rat's race to kind of outsell everybody else, but kind of lowball other beaters and other artists as well. And I like the emphasis here is less on the price point and what it looks like, and it's more about, you know, who the person is, and that story piece is very, very crucial. So it's that focus on the person and the craft or the trade in and of itself, rather than this one object at a price point, and then now we're just looking at these little, what, you know, we're just matching one for one, dollar for dollar, rather than thinking about, like you're talking about, a long-term career trajectory. You know, this isn't just any old stick that has a, you know, an animal on it. This is this person, this is the reputation, these are the stories, these are the, you know, there's a lot more that can be taken into account. And it's, the trick, I think, is that it takes time to do that. And for a lot of people, they may not always necessarily have that luxury, because sometimes that rent is due in a few days. And so a lot of people kind of scramble to get things done just so that they can meet their quotas for the month and get food on the table for dinner, you know, in time for dinner today, or different things like that. So how do you sort of deal with, you know, people that have those immediate needs, like putting out those immediate fires while also building toward a long-term sustainable whole entire forest? And I feel like that's what you guys are able to do through this model.
That's exactly the purpose, is to get to establish them where they're going to be successful. We don't want artists to go door to door to sell their art. We want to keep that, and we don't want them to, and again, we don't oppress them too. They're free to do whatever they want. But we want to make sure that they get fair pay, they get the art is being marketed properly, and it's in established galleries and in established collection and so on. And that way it would, you know, one artist make a huge difference in a community, one artist. I'll give you an example. This wall hanging right beside me, behind me here. This is about 4 feet wide by 3 feet height. The woman who did that, she's in her 80s. I met her several times. Every time I go to the community called Baker Lake in Nunavut, I would go and then I have to visit her. She's, you know, a couple of houses away from where I stayed. She knew I was there. She will send her son. She wants to see me. I will go, I'll have tea with her. And after I have a cup of tea, she will talk in Inuktitut, in her language. Her son would translate to me. We're so happy to see you, and so on. And she always said, I'm so skinny, I have to put weight on. You know, she always joking around about me. I'm too skinny. She keeps saying I have to marry an Inuit woman, and they will fat me up. So I enjoy her company. I enjoy her artwork. I worked with her for over 30 years. You know, she's filled with energy. She filled with life, you know. She got this solid gray hair. Wherever I go there, I always call her the Queen of Nunavut. She will show me now, RJ, she comes out, she roll out 3 wall hangings. She did this. By the way, I usually send messages way ahead of time when I go into the community to buy art. I will give them a month. I say, okay, I'm gonna be there for a week. I will come there to buy art and meet with you guys and discuss art and discuss the marketing condition and everything. So when I'm there, artists will have artwork make, they don't bring to the co-op, they'll wait for me to come. Because they want to show what they make. They want me to see what they make. They don't want to share with no one else. So Irene, like I said, she's in her 80s. She got all kind of awards from Canada, you know, Art of Canada. She's the Royal Academy artist, you name it, she's everything there. And then she bring the 3 wall hanging. And she tell her son, I want RJ to price it. She wants to know what I say it worth. And I will give her a number, and then she will say, she'll give me thumbs up. And then the son will bring the pieces to the co-op, and then we give her the money. And next thing you know, she's gone her way. She's one artist who I've been supporting since I started this company 33 years ago almost. And because of her, a lot of young generation ladies are sewing wall hangings. And I shared this wall hanging, the quality and her style, the detail, the threading, the stitches, with all these young generation, what to expect. I told her not to make like this, just watch the details and the craftsmanship put into this work. And you know, the kind of artwork I'm getting today because of this one lady there, this one artist, the quality has, it used to be there, and now all the young generation, the quality gets up there. Now they're competing within themselves to get better. And that's what it's about. One artist alone to make a difference in that village. And that's what we like to see. And the funny thing, the same day I was about to leave to come back, I saw her on a four-wheel. I asked her where she's going. Her son, she said she's going hunting. At 82 years old, she bought gas, she bought ammunition, she packing a rifle, all these things. She's going hunting, and she will go for a week alone. Power to women. That's awesome. So these are kind of things I see and I get involved. You know, I love going visiting, and that's, you know, get to understand the community they live in, the home they live in, the life they live in, the culture. And again, that's what makes this system great, is we have an understanding and a great partnership. And I encourage that. As you guys take on this new adventure, you know, it's all about working together, loyalty and building relationship, work together, you know, bring people together. And it works, or else this system will not be around today. From 1965 to today, it worked. It's a proven fact. We used to be in one community, and now we're in 32.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And
Yes.
and I you know, I appreciate you guys invited me again to do this. I enjoy doing it. You know, I always get an opportunity to talk about it because I'm proud of the company I work for. I'm proud of the people I support. I'm proud of the people we work for. The carver would call me and said, boss, how much do you want to pay for this? I said, I'm not your boss. You are my boss. All you guys there are my bosses. Everybody, every one of you artists. I work for you. I don't work. It's not the other way around. And they have to know that. We were hired because you are the member. You own everything here. You own this building. You own the art. And that's what it's about. Give the artists, give the indigenous artists and the people control of their own. And we are here to just manage, administrate, and create that arm to market and to move this beautiful, unique art they created.
RJ, thank you so much for your presentation, and you're such an inspiration. And I took a lot of notes because we're trying to form a statewide arts cooperative here. And I'm inspired. And so when I get off of this call, I'm going to talk to my young art person that's working with us to say, you need to watch his presentation when Justin gets it up, but also to really talk about, because it really is about, it all begins with relationships. And if we have those relationships in place, then we have trust. And when we have trust, we have reciprocity. It's, you know, it's our way of life in our communities to build those relationships. And we're so appreciative of your, of Arctic Cooperatives and how respectful the staff are that work for the cooperative, but also have a love for the communities that they're serving. And that's something that I'm really impressed by, is that you guys all have a love for the people that you're serving. And that's kind of unusual a lot of times when you're from outside the community. You kind of will carry in some kind of settler mentality. And I haven't seen any of that in any of the people that I've met from Arctic cooperatives. And I'm just truly inspired.
You know, it's been a great experience for me, great ride, a great adventure being here too, and, you know, and not very often, how many people get an opportunity to go to the Arctic and see big iceberg floating or whales and all these things, you know? This country is so big, it's massive.
Yeah.
And part of the job comes with these good things also, you know, like I said, I love go fishing, and you go in the summertime, it's 24 hours daylight. Where else can you enjoy that? Or I go there in December and January, I get 24 darkness, you know, it's all good. Many times people say, you're not Inuit when I go there, you know, I go a different community. No, I'm not. I was born in South America. And I say, you from tropical, why you up here? It's all good. Go where life takes you and enjoy it. Enjoy the journey.
Thank you so much. We just really appreciate it. And that you just got off a vacation, and I just put you to work.
No worries. It's been a pleasure, and I appreciate each and every one of you guys take part in the in this presentation. And I only wish you all success and good luck with the project. I wish you all a healthy, happy holidays. Take care of yourself and stay safe.
Thank you so much. Did you want to say something, Justin?
Just thank you, RJ. Just so appreciate everything that you're working for and doing, and thank you for taking the time to be with us today, and really looking forward to sharing this out with folks.
More than welcome. Hopefully in the near future, I'll come visit you guys when this thing up and running, hopefully.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to come out there.
Well, you stay healthy this winter and have a beautiful winter season with your family too.
And all to you guys too.
Yeah.
Take care. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.